All right, guys, welcome back to another video. Lots of stuff to talk about today. We will start off here talking about Star Wars Outlaws. But before we do, if you are new to the channel or you've been watching for a while, you enjoy what you see and you aren't subscribed, consider hitting that subscribe button and help the channel grow. Also, make sure to check out my Spotify in the link in the description. It's for the audio version of this that comes out a few hours after the YouTube release. But let's start off here. Let's talk about Star Wars Outlaws. I think this is probably one of the bigger things that did happen yesterday for a couple of reasons, some good, some bad, I guess, really depending on what you thought of the story trailer. So this is an open world game coming out from Massive Entertainment, being published by Ubisoft. Massive, we know that they are known for games like The Division and the Avatar game, and generally I think Massive actually does a very good job with their games. And Star Wars Outlaws is going to be their next game. We got the story trailer and the official release date of August 30th. Now, I actually think it looks pretty good. It is something that I am interested in checking out, but there is some controversy surrounding this. And if you want to go see the story trailer, it's on YouTube and you can determine for yourself whether it's something you will be into or not. But I think it looked pretty good. Maybe we'll have to wait and see until the game actually comes out to see if it lives up to what they are showing off in the trailer and if it is fun to play. That's going to be the main thing for me, just how fun is the gameplay within this thing. We've heard about many different types of gameplay in this open world, from the combat to the vehicular travel to space and everything. So it is going to be pretty cool in the Star Wars universe. But there was something that kind of has overtaken, I would say, it would have probably been overall a positive outlook for this game, and that is the actual release of it and what you're going to have to do to play this game. So the pre-orders came up in Ubisoft fashion. I don't know why people are always surprised by this. Ubisoft has always different tiers of their games that are pre-orders, and they go all the way up to pretty expensive. Like, I think the highest one for Star Wars Outlaws is like $170 or something crazy like that. But if you know anything about Ubisoft games, there's really honestly no reason to pre-order them, because if you don't want to pay that amount of money, the games drop from Ubisoft in price very fast after their launch. You just have to wait a couple months and you get these things for like 50% off. Even games that are good, even their good releases, like even Assassin's Creed, when it comes out, they drop in price relatively fast. So that was something that was a lot of negativity surrounding the actual story trailer for Star Wars Outlaws, was the prices of the editions. But the big thing here that everybody is talking about, which is, I think, an overall bigger conversation within the gaming industry, something that I always am very interested in and something I'm always very passionate about, and that's game preservation. A lot of people just think it's stupid to care about physical games. It's stupid to care about having games on a disc. And I can understand why from the business perspective, as we will get some information after I talk about this to show why these companies don't really care when people are outraged about this. But it is the fact that this is a game that you're going to need an internet to actually install the game. So it could be kind of a silly argument for a lot of people, because you would say, well, you're on the internet all the time. You're on the internet on social media. You're on the internet watching YouTube. So why are you complaining about having to need internet to actually install the game? And the reason people would complain about that is for that game preservation. At any point, this game could just be absolutely obsolete. If you were to go and buy this game in 10 years from now and they decided that, hey, we don't want to keep these servers up for this game, we don't want to have it digitally available, there's nothing you can do. You probably will never be able to actually play this game by legal means, at least. So that's what people are complaining about here. They want to be able to pick up this game. It is a single player game. That is the other thing. It is a single player game, and they want to be able to put the disc in their console and not have to have internet to play. They want to have that offline mode, which is not available. And I'm definitely against this practice. I would love to see this go away. But the reality is, it's here to stay for a lot of these companies, because I don't think it actually makes a huge difference on their bottom line when people are complaining and outraged about it. And why I say that is not because I want people to not outrage it. I don't want people to not talk about it, because I think it's great that people speak up about this. But why I say that is because we have this information that also came out the same day from Matt Piscatella. And it's very telling. These game companies, they don't care about the older gamers anymore. They are appealing completely to how people are deciding now to play their games, and that is fully digital. which I guess at the end of the day, you just kind of have to get used to. It says physical software accounted for approximately 10% of all US video game content spending in 2019 across console, portable, PC, cloud, non-console, VR, subscription, and mobile. And then in 2023, the percentage fell to under 5%. So under 5% of all US video game content spending was on physical software. And that's why a lot of these games release and you need an internet connection to play them, because people are buying them digitally. So in order to play and buy these games digitally, you have to have an internet connection to download them. So it's not a big deal for the majority of gamers out there to have an internet connection to actually install the game. So that's just kind of what the reality is, based off of the numbers and based off of how people consume games. If you've watched my channel, and you will hear me say all the time that I like my physical games and I'm all for game preservation. One of the reasons I really like what Xbox has been doing, at least as part of their business, has been opening up that backwards compatibility and at least trying to give people that ability to preserve some of their library going forward. So, I mean, there is that constant debate. I think there's a lot more discussion about it online, but the reality is probably those numbers are going to play out with this game here, is that 95% of people are going to be buying it digitally anyways. So they're going to need internet connection at the end of the day. But that was kind of what has surrounded this game, even after, I would say, a couple of good showings for it at the Xbox showcase, and then when they had it at Ubisoft Forward last year. And then the story trailer looks pretty good. It's all going to be overshadowed by this type of conversation here online, at least, about requiring an internet connection. But let me know in the comments below, because I feel like a lot of people probably don't care that much about it. Let me know what you think about this. So that was a major story that kind of happened yesterday. And now we'll move on here. Talk about some other stuff. We'll start with this story here. An Xbox Game Pass. We've seen kind of conflicting things here, but the most, I think, consensus is that Game Pass really does help indie developers and helps developers that their games may have never been noticed get noticed. And we have some more talk about this here. And this is from Citizen Sleeper, the devs behind that game, saying that Xbox Game Pass is keeping a lot of indie studios going. And here is what it says. Spotted over on Reddit, Citizen Sleeper designer Gareth Damian Martin says that Xbox Game Pass was massive for Citizen Sleeper, and he thinks Game Pass is keeping a lot of indie studios going right now. And they say the chat about the services originated from Edge Magazine, which there will be more information coming out about that. So this is what he says. The first Citizen Sleeper was released straight onto Xbox Game Pass and has stayed there ever since. It'll be joined by a sequel at launch. When we asked Gareth Damian Martin about the reasoning there, they point us straight to the game's Xbox reviews. They all say things like, I don't play these kind of games, but I tried it because it was on Game Pass and I loved it. And that was massive for Citizen Sleeper. To a studio of jump over the ages size, getting a deal with a console subscription service can be vital. Saying, to be honest, I think Game Pass is keeping a lot of indie studios going right now. And I mean, that makes a ton of sense. And I think overall throughout this generation, what we are seeing here is that Game Pass has been instrumental in really helping a lot of these indie developers become successful and having people actually play and discover their games by releasing them onto a service with already millions and millions of subscribers. And this happens to me all the time. And even when I talk to people about games that they're playing, I think it happens to a lot of people out there, is they jump into games there's no way they would have ever played or even thought about playing if it was an indie subscription service. And it's not because they just ignore all of these indie games, but maybe it's because they just had never heard of it until it was in Xbox Game Pass. So I think Game Pass does a great job of getting indie games out there, and there are so many good indie games. I believe that they are more creative in a lot of ways than big AAA games. And it's just another story, I would say, that checks off on the positive side versus some of the negative stories that do come out when it comes to developers talking about Xbox Game Pass. So Citizen Sleeper, if you haven't checked it out, go check it out. And again, keeping indie studios going, which is interesting. And we'll see how many more of these studios jump in to get their games on to the service. All right, let's jump over here. Let's talk about Moon Studios and the potential of Ori 3. Moon Studios, they are releasing No Rest for the Wicked, which looks phenomenal. They also are the team behind Ori and Ori 2. which are both up there for me as some of my favorite games ever, some of my favorite platformers ever. Just a phenomenal game, from gameplay to art style to storytelling to music. Just it knocked it out of the park everywhere. So I would love an Ori 3, but it does kind of seem like that isn't going to be happening, at least not happening anytime soon. As Moon Studios co-founder says, I think we were able to complete the story of Ori. It's a complete arc now. If you play both games, it's a complete story. So it felt like the only way we would come back to Ori 3 is if we have more to say, more story to tell. So if you finished Ori 2, you would understand kind of what they're getting at there. And it looks like, yeah, they're probably not going to get one, but maybe they come up with another platformer that they do release, because I would love to see them get back into that genre after No Rest for the Wicked. No Rest for the Wicked looks awesome, but I would love to bring back another platformer from them, because they do a very, very good job. Maybe they'll come up with a new IP and just give us a brand new adventure with some new characters. Okay, let's talk about Motive Studios, because Motive is joining in on the Battlefield franchise. Motive, we know them for games like Star Wars Squadrons and the Dead Space remake, so they've done some great stuff at EA. And if there is a game that needs a revitalization, I would say is Battlefield, to really have a strong release. And I think for the next Battlefield, that would be awesome to have, and have again that direct competition with Call of Duty, which I don't think we've had now for a while. There was a time where people were having to choose between Battlefield and Call of Duty of what they wanted to pick up and play on day one. And we really haven't had that competition. I think it'll be great for both franchises, great for Battlefield to get back to that level, and then obviously great for Call of Duty to push it forward. But now, one way that this could happen is bringing in more studios to help them make this game. And Motive Studios is announcing that they will be joining the Battlefield franchise while also developing the Iron Man game that they are working on. This says here in the announcement, Patrick Claw said, in my last update, I spoke about the studio going through an important period of evolution. We invested in developing our people in more ways than ever, and we improved our workspaces for teams to collaborate to their fullest and deliver the best game possible. That period of evolution and elevation continues today with the exciting announcement that a group of developers from Motive are joining the talented team at Criterion, DICE, and Ripple Effect to continue unlocking the full potential of Battlefield. In parallel, development continues to move forward on our Iron Man project. So we'll see how this all turns out. I'm actually kind of excited for the next Battlefield. I'm excited for the Iron Man game that Motive is working on. There are good games coming out of EA that will be, hopefully we'll see more about those games soon. All right, the other platform here, PlayStation, who we're getting some little bit of news here about maybe we'll get a first party game from them this year, smaller first party game, and the Astrobot game a lot of people are speculating about, which I actually think would be great, because I did like the Astrobot demo that came with the PS5 when you purchased your PS5. So if we got a bigger sort of version of that and more platforming and stuff, I'm all for that. But all of the other first-party studios we really haven't heard much from, and I'm guessing we're not going to hear much more about any of those games coming out this year. Maybe if there is another PlayStation showcase this summer, we'll finally get our first glimpse as to what's next from them. And one of those studios would be Sony Santa Monica, as we know them for the God of War series. You would most likely be guessing here that God of War, the next one in the series, will be coming out from them. How they're going to take that game, not 100% sure yet, but they are definitely hiring now and going full force into getting this game in development. As this was found here with their Sony Careers website with a job posting about hiring. And it says the description of the job offer says that the studio is developing an unannounced project. This project appears to be the sequel to God of War Ragnarok based on the requirements requested in some of the offers. And they say that specifically because with their preferred experience, what they're looking for are candidates who are fluent with the combat design choices, systems, mechanics, and enemies in God of War 2018 and God of War Ragnarok 2022. So looks like they're really ramping up their hiring to create the next God of War. If we go by this timeline, it should be here in 2026, which is why maybe you get a glimpse at the PlayStation showcase this year. Next year, you get a full gameplay deep dive, and then they release it in 2026 to add to the trilogy here of this rebooted God of War. And that'd be great. I really like the God of War series. I've liked it all the way back to the PS2 days. I was somewhat skeptical when they rebooted it. I really I like that fast-paced action, and I was worried that they were going to take everything away from Kratos in terms of just like his whole character. They kind of did that a bit at the end of God of War Ragnarok, but I still enjoyed it, and I really enjoy what they've done here with this reboot, so I'm looking forward to the third game in the series itself. All right, let's talk about NetEase and Blizzard, because as we know, Blizzard pulled their games out of China because they couldn't come to an agreement here with NetEase, and it looks like they may now officially be coming to an agreement, or at least discussing it, to get Chinese players to be able to jump in and purchase and play Blizzard titles, because they have not been able to do this since 2023. It says here, according to a Chinese market analyst, CNYer, it's expected that a formal announcement will be made on Wednesday, reintroducing PC titles such as World of Warcraft and Overwatch 2 to the Chinese market. So maybe that would have already happened as you're watching this video, but we'll see. If not, we'll be talking about it. If this announcement does happen, we'll talk about it in tomorrow's episode. But it looks like there could be an announcement coming to get those games back reintroduced into that market. And why people are coming to this speculation is, well, first of all, there was a leaked photo showing NetEase CEO Ding Lei, who met with Blizzard's new CEO Johanna Faries. And then there's some more speculation as to what exactly this can mean. And that's going to be an announcement that these games are getting back into the Chinese market. So we will wait and see. I feel like Xbox would want to do this and obviously get their games into more markets where they can make more money, because pulling them out really doesn't do much for them, especially in that part of the world where they're trying to grow and they're trying to grow the Xbox brand. To me, this would be a no-brainer. So I wouldn't be surprised if this announcement happens, whether it's today or tomorrow or whatever. I feel like we will see Blizzard games back in that market. But that's it for me, guys. I'm going to end the video there. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up. If you are new here, hit that subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next video.